ladies and gentlemen. Good morning and welcome to this month's webinar hosted by the Leadership Group under the title of our Leadership Conversations. Thank you for joining us. My name is Martin Oduor-Otieno. I'm the Executive Director at the Leadership Group and delighted, as I've said, to welcome all of you here. I'm very glad to have today with us my very good friend, Mercy Wasike, who is our guest speaker in today's webinar. And she'll be taking over shortly to discuss with us the topic of embracing failure. I also have on this call members of the Leadership Group team. Thank you to all of them. Kelly Muigai, Christabel Boro, Kefa Bosire, Dr. Pasio Pio, and a number of our other associates are with me on this today. This is a very exciting subject that we all want to partake of. Before I invite Mercy, let me just say for those of you who are coming in for the first time, and also as a reminder to those who have been here before, that the Leadership Group, which I head, has been around for over 7 years now, working in partnership with a number of organizations and individuals as our clients, and supporting them in the areas of executive coaching and mentorship, governance and board practice, strategy and business advisory services, leadership and communication, as well as culture and change management. We believe that these are critical areas for leaders today. And so we focus on those and we have built core strengths and competencies in those areas. So I'd like to invite you to partner with us, become our clients, our alumni in this process. In fact, by participating in today's webinar, you already join our long list of alumni. And so you can expect to be receiving communication from us from time to time on our various programs. Over the last 7 years, we've delivered value to clients across different sectors, public sector, private sector, the non-government sector. And so I also want to mention that over the next couple of months, we do have a few of our signature programs coming up. We have a 3-day transformational leadership program retreat coming up from the 30th of August to the 2nd of September in Mombasa. Kelly will post in the chat box some details about that. We also have a 1-day board executive and succession planning management program on the 26th of September. And then we have our really highlight program for the year, the Global Leadership Program for Africa, coming up from the 2nd to the 4th of November. So if you can take note of those and register as appropriate. I'd like now to introduce Mercy Wasike. So Mercy is a senior culturally competent and inclusive nurse leader. She's currently the Deputy Chief Nurse at the Royal National Orthopaedic Hospital in the UK. And, very proud of Mercy, as she is the first Kenyan nurse to hold the position of Deputy Chief Nurse in the UK's NHS National Health Service. In this role, she provides expert senior nursing leadership across the trust in support of the chief nurse. Her background as a qualified teacher and a registered adult nurse are instrumental in the way she works. Mercy's special interest is in the way people learn from and through work. She has a track record of strategic leadership and workforce transformation based on varied experience, and seeks to create and support systems that enable others to reach their full potential whilst delivering quality patient care at the same time. Mercy is a fellow of the Higher Education Academy in the UK. She's a Florence Nightingale Leadership Scholar, and she's a Queen's Nurse. And I was just looking up what a Queen's Nurse is, and she will probably tell us a bit more about this when she comes on. But a Queen's nurse, the title of Queen's nurse is available to individual nurses who have demonstrated a high level of commitment to patient care and nursing practice. Nurse Mercy is among 1,500 Queen's nurses in the UK, Northern Ireland, and Wales. I asked her why it doesn't apply in Scotland, and she told me that they've got their own version of Queen's Nurse in Scotland. But I'm very delighted this morning to welcome Mercy. Take it on, Mercy. You can complement the introduction by saying a bit more about yourself and then straight into the topic. In terms of the plan, so Mercy will be on for about 20 minutes or so, and then we'll have a Q&A session. And as usual, we aim to get you out of this place at the top of the hour. By 12 o'clock, we'll have finished so that you can get on with your other responsibilities. If you've got any questions that you want to post in the chat box, please feel free to do that. And if we have got time, we'll pick a few from the audience once Mercy is through. So over to you, Mercy. Welcome. Really looking forward to listening to you this morning and engaging in this conversation. Karibu.
Asante sana, Martin. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Perhaps the one thing Martin forgot to say is how very proud I am to be Kenyan and how very privileged I consider myself to be flying our flag very many miles away from home. Thank you. And I hope together we can explore how we can best embrace failure over the next couple of minutes. You will face many defeats in life, but never let yourself be defeated. That's Maya Angelou speaking to us over and over again, whatever our situation may be. I'd like to start by telling you about a conversation I had with one of my mentees about a year ago. She had applied for a job, and like most of us, had done all her due diligence, but unfortunately, she was not successful on this occasion. During our debrief, I happened to mention some of my own experience relating to a time where I had actually had a series of 8 different interviews before I finally nailed the promotion I so desired at my 9th attempt. My mentee paused and said to me, "I'm very surprised by what you're saying. I always thought that you walk in through the very first time." That surprised me, but it also got me thinking that perhaps I do not speak enough about the times when I didn't get in the first time. I think there is space for all of us to ponder more often at the times we didn't get in the first time. And I can share this morning, the very first time I didn't get in when I thought I would. As Martin said, I have experience of being a teacher as well, and I studied music. I learned how to play the piano from the age of 13, and then at around the age of 18, I registered to sit for my grade 5 exam. Up to this point, I had actually never ever failed an exam. So I guess I just flippantly assumed that I would go in, do my skills, breeze through my sight reading, and fly through the set pieces. I cannot begin to describe how very shocked and heartbroken I was when I received my results and I had failed. I didn't know what to do, and I was really devastated. I remember crying my heart out, and when one of my older siblings came home, she looked at me and thought something terrible had happened. Perspective is very important. In my world, this was the very worst thing that could ever happen to me. In my sister's world, though, she had a bit more experience of not passing exams. So her view was, what's the big deal? Just get up, dust yourself, and live to fight again tomorrow. As I was thinking about coming to speak with you all today, I worked out that there are probably 3 things I should share this morning, and I'm going to refer to them as the D, E, and G that anchor the F. The D is about defining failure. Who decides what's failure? Sometimes it's the system. Things are set in stone. The piano exam was set in stone. There were standards I needed to meet. I didn't meet those standards, so it was a clear fail. Interestingly enough, about 20 years later, I was learning how to drive here in the UK. And I can confidently share this morning that it took me 5 attempts to be able to get through. Having learned at the age of 18 that it's okay to fail, I would like to think it comes as no surprise to anybody that I was very well able to keep trying every time I went to the test center and I was told I was not yet good enough to drive by myself. I think it's easy to deal with defined failure when the system tells us this is what you should deliver, you haven't, so we will not say you can pass. What about the times when we have to make the decision ourselves? Those 8 interviews, should I have been considering it a failure? I didn't. I just looked at it as a chance to explore my own strengths, to go back to the drawing board and to think, how else can I approach this process? The E is about embracing failure when it comes our way. That might sound like an oxymoron, because many times in life, I think we are socialized and we have a tendency to embrace only and mainly the good stuff. I would like to challenge all of us this morning to reframe our thoughts around failure. I look at failure as a very good teacher. Sometimes we pay a lot for the lessons it can teach us, but very often it helps us to better ourselves on a personal and professional level. You might want to ask me rather, what I mean by embracing failure. It is for me about stopping to smell the coffee, asking ourselves, what just happened in that meeting? Why was I not able to clearly articulate my points? What will I do differently if faced with a similar situation? Embracing failure is also for me about taking ownership and being in control of the situations around us as things unfold. As the American President Roosevelt said, it is hard to fail, but it is worse never to have tried to succeed. So, as we seek to embrace failure, I hope that more of us will begin to look at it as an opportunity to prepare ourselves to succeed. So we've looked at the D and we've looked at the E. The F needs no further introduction because it's about failure. And I will never really understand how the schooling systems all over the world continue to grade the F as a failure, but that's a topic for another conversation. So the final letter that I would like us to use to anchor the F is growth. As I've alluded to it already, when we fail, we have a chance to start again. And in starting again, we allow ourselves to grow. Sometimes this may mean seeking out meaningful feedback, or in the case of an exam, redoing our studying and burning a bit more of the midnight oil. It might be about going back to the drawing board and asking ourselves whether the job promotion we are seeking will allow us to fully utilize our strengths and our own potential. It is through growing that we are able to refine our strategies and bring our best foot forward as much as possible. This can only happen if we refuse to fail and continue to look at it as an opportunity to grow. So, if we are to grow through failure, I think we need to be able to know ourselves. If I know myself and I'm as fully self-aware as can be, I should be able to control my reaction to what's happening around me. In knowing myself, I should also be fully aware of my worth. What am I bringing to the table? And as I said, this might not necessarily be the best table for me. That's fine. I should just keep looking, and I will definitely find the table at which I can fully be myself. I also think that failing on one's own term is a very good way in which to grow. So let's always stop and think, who's defining what I'm referring to as failure? How well am I embracing the moments when others, and perhaps myself, by being overly critical, are thinking I have failed? And finally, how well have I tapped into the opportunities that failure provides for me to grow? And in the process of my growing, I hope I will have allowed others to grow too. Thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you very much, Mercy. Let's give Mercy a big round of applause for that introduction to this topic. The getting up and dusting oneself, Mercy, that sounds like quite a simple thing to do, doesn't it?
It is, but just always think of a toddler.
Sorry?
I mean, I always look at children, isn't it? When a child is learning how to walk, they never ever think, oh, I've fallen so many times, I'm never going to try and stand up again. And I think that as adults, we must try to keep that in mind. Of course, it's not easy. It is by no means easy at all, but I don't think it's impossible either.
Right. So let's then open up this conversation. I have, Mercy, a question that came in earlier that I'd like to pose to you at this point. And the question says, the extreme fear of failure could lead one to stay within the comfort zone. In your opinion, what practical techniques and mechanisms can be implemented so as to manage situations where failure occurs?
Thanks, Martin. I think some practical things that one could do so that they're beginning to stretch themselves into the growth zone is to learn a new skill. Perhaps you could sign up to learn a musical instrument, or even how to bake. So I don't know how to bake. So I'm always making my guests make cakes for me when they drop by. Or learn a language. So Africa has just started to embrace Swahili as the language we all will be encouraged to speak. So just sign up for a class for purposes of helping yourself get used to not getting it right the first time. If there's one thing I took away from the years I was learning how to play the piano, it was how to fail. I haven't played for a very long time now, and I might never play again, but that was the best gift that my years of playing gave me. So just sign up for a class, any class, for a duration of time, and go in with the mindset that you're going to use that as a tool to help you start to stretch yourself out of what is very familiar.
Thank you, Mercy. There's two questions in the chat box. One is from somebody who might be familiar to you. She says, hi, Mercy, I'm very, very proud of you. Please tell us how people can enhance their self-awareness.
Thank you. I think one way in which you can enhance your self-awareness is to think about the people you surround yourself with. We must find people who will tell us what we need to hear and not necessarily what we would like to hear. We must find people who are willing to hold the mirror to our faces and challenge us, help us to create safe spaces in which we can continue to work on ourselves. So have a small circle of what some people refer to as your personal board of directors, people with whom you can be open, and people who you know genuinely care about you. And when they say things to you, they're coming from a good place, a place of love and a place of wanting to support you and to allow you to be your best self. Equally, make sure you're that person to the people who matter in your life. It is really in giving that we receive.
Wow, it's in giving that we receive. That's quite powerful, eh? There's one here which I'm not sure if this is a trick question, Mercy, but it's from your namesake called Mercy as well. She asks, is there success without failure?
Yes and no, because I think, Mercy, and thank you for joining. I think that you define what you call success, and equally you define what you call failure. So when I was failing my driving test, I remember somebody at my place of work at the time saying to me they didn't understand why I was learning to drive a manual car and that I should just give up and go for an automatic car. In their books, perhaps they felt that I'll never succeed. But for me, the success in the end wasn't about getting my driving license. It was about the process and the fact that I had lived through repeated failure and in the process become a better person and a better teacher. Because now it means that when I speak to people to say, please don't give up, I'm able to use myself as an example. So I think that you can have as much success and as much failure as you want, but you have to define what that means to you.
They're beginning to come in fast and furious now, Mercy, but there's one that came in earlier, which I'd like to read for you. This is more on the business side, but I'll pause it anyway. And then I saw one of our friends, David Gatende, in the room. I may ask him also to chip in on this one. The question is, what is the key thing for the founders of a family business to do today to be sure that the family business, to be sure of the family business continuity after the second generation? I think the context here is that a lot of family businesses fail after the first generation, the people who set them up. So now that we are talking about embracing failure, what can families do to ensure that there's sustainability in family businesses? Do you want to give that a try, Mercy?
Yes, I'm always one to try, Martin. Thank you. I think we should expose people early enough. I don't think it's ever too early to teach a child anything. So what I would suggest is that the families expose every generation as soon as possible to what the business is about, and perhaps more importantly, what's the ethos, what drives this business, and then allow them to bring their voice to the table. And please listen and take on board their suggestions, because they are the future. The thing is, I do not know what our children will deal with in 30 years. So I cannot always want them to do things my way. I have to have provision for them to start preparing themselves for their future, because that wouldn't necessarily be my future. So I would just make provision for every generation to have a place on the table and actually give their voice as much weight as possible.
David, I don't know if you're in the room, so that I give Mercy a minute to have a glass of water. But if you're in the room, do you want to chime in here and just give us your perspective on this?
Sure, absolutely. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
You can, thank you. First of all, thank you very much, Mercy, for your thoughts. I really appreciate what you have shared about failure. And also,
Mark, could we mute our systems if we are not speaking? Go on, David.
Okay. Yes, I had the privilege of working for a family business for 36 years, and I retired just a few months at the end of May as the group CEO, and so I can fully understand perhaps where that question is coming from. And from my experience, I just want to say I agree with Mercy, saying that you should expose the other generations to the challenges that the business is facing today, and so that they can be aware of how they can deal with the new challenges, which may not have been there for the previous generation. But I would also add that there is benefit in having non-family members involved in a business, because they bring a different perspective. And board meetings, you know, some of the issues that you discuss in the leadership group, Martin, to do with governance and to do with independent directors who have different perspectives, that would be very, very important. And so one of the things to link it with the topic that Mercy is discussing about failure and learning from failure is that non-executives and non-family members can add, or as we say in Swahili, kuchangia, bring substance to discussions. And tomorrow will be the first time that I am going to a board meeting at the same company as a non-executive. So I will be wearing a different hat, and hopefully, because I have been taking some classes in how to be an effective non-executive director, I will have much more to add now in my new role. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David, and thanks for for coming into that at very short notice. That's what friends are for. So let me come back to you, Mercy. There's a couple more questions here. One is, do you have any suggestions for working through self-doubt? Self-doubt?
Yes, I do. Two things that I've found helpful is that I decide what the voice in my head says to me. I also journal. I do keep a journal, especially when I start a new role, because at the end of the day, I like to think about 3 things that happened and my reaction to them. And if they didn't go well, I spent a little time thinking what I would do differently another time. And in effect, what that ends up happening is that it builds a repertoire of scenarios in my own head, so that when things don't go the way I had hoped they would, I'm able to quickly flip through the pages I've installed in my mind and remind myself that I've been there before and I got through. I also find that having trusted mentors is very, very helpful, because fortunately they're always very open and honest with me. And then I do realize it's not about me, and a lot of people do go through those kind of moments. So definitely it's normal to self-doubt. It's just what we do about the fact that we are self-doubting.
Thank you, Mercy. The next one says, what are the techniques to reframe your perspective during failure? Reframing your perspective during failure.
I think you should allow yourself to feel what you're feeling, but not dwell there too long. And then I would then tap into that personal board of directors I spoke about earlier on. So find some trusted people who will be able to listen to you and then, but quickly get you moving on. So they shouldn't allow you to dwell forever in that place of, oh, I didn't get what I really, really wanted and I'd really prepared myself. Hopefully they'll be able to quickly point out to you that, you know, there's probably another opportunity. We just shouldn't spend too much time thinking about what was. But feel what you should feel and then slowly allow yourself to move on.
So there is no problem with embracing our feelings, Mercy, is what I'm hearing there.
No,
we should not shut our feelings. We should feel what we are feeling.
Yes, we should feel what we are feeling. I definitely believe that. It's healthy, yeah, on many levels. Because it's okay not to be okay. And that's the one thing that I believe the pandemic has taught all of us. It's okay not to be okay. It's just what we do with that fact.
Could you say a bit more about that, Mercy? It's okay.
So for instance,
okay.
So it's okay, let's say, for you not to get every directorship you apply for, Martin. That's fine. It doesn't mean you're rubbish. It just means that maybe on that day there was somebody else who had an additional skill set that they would have wanted for that particular board. And also it's okay for you to then go home and tell your loved ones how gutted you are because you had already visualized yourself on this board and imagined what difference you would perhaps make. But what wouldn't be okay is for you to still, in my opinion, go on and on about it 3 months later, isn't it? What would be fine is that after a while, I don't want to prescribe how long because people are different. It's about how you pick yourself up and yes, move on. And I find that mentoring others helps me to see how far I have come myself, but equally having mentors allows me to see how much farther I could go. So it's a chain. It's really just a chain, and people are passing knowledge, skills, and experience to us. And equally, we, all the generations coming after us, we must pass things on. We must lead by example, and we must not be afraid to feel the way we feel. Yeah.
So we should not kill ourselves just because we have not gotten what we want, what we really, really wanted to get, Mercy.
I don't think so. Really, no, nobody should kill themselves, because when you look back one day, it always makes sense. Yeah. When TSC didn't post me as a teacher, I thought, wow, what will happen to me? But now I often, now I kind of understand that I was really meant to be in that situation and have to think outside the box and have to lean on support from people who love and care about me. And then that's how I just dared to move miles away.
So you've actually brought me to the next question, which says, thank you for this, Mercy. I'm encouraged that failure is not final. How did you transition from teaching to nursing? Two very different professions. I'm realizing that careers and education have a shelf life.
So I get asked that quite a lot. So thank you for that. First and foremost, I do not think they're different, really. I like working with people. And so being a teacher and being a nurse is both perfect for me, because it means I have a lot of interaction with other people. In practical times, I had to move here and literally go back to school and start at the beginning. I went back to university and did a diploma in nursing and then rose through the ranks. But I must admit that somewhere along the way, I was able to then quickly begin to draw upon my experience as a teacher. So what I would say is whatever transition you're thinking of, everything you already have will not be wasted, because whatever skills and experience we possess are now a part of us, and we can only but bring them into whatever new role we would like to explore. So I really think of myself as a teacher, only now I have a bigger classroom, and I'm using my skills a bit differently, and not necessarily teaching just music.
Excellent. There's one more here. June Kivinda says, how do you handle this? When stating a truth, one says you are judgmental, yet it may be that one is clear between right and wrong. Sounds a bit philosophical, Mercy.
Yeah, it does. It does. But I guess the question would be, whose truth is it? Is it factual information? That's one thing I would want to know. And then equally, what's the context within which we are stating this truth? Is the other person ready to listen to it? Is it a matter of planting the seed and perhaps making time to come back to it later? Feeding back is not a straightforward process. And unfortunately for a lot of us, we struggle when people give us the kind of feedback we need. So I would look at the context. I would want to understand what's the truth. And then I would want to bring in somebody else maybe to help us facilitate an after action review, or to just explore what's happening. Is it within a team? Is it within a group of people? Or does it relate to two individuals? Would having a mediator help? It just depends. But definitely that sounds like a good opportunity to go. So just, think through, how much am I contributing to this situation, and how much is the other person or people bringing, and what would it take for us to all move ourselves to the next stage for the greater good.
Mercy, this is the largest number of questions that I've seen on this webinar since we started almost 2 years ago. But the next one here is, let me just say that I'm going to open it up now for people to voice. So if you've got some question that you want to actually voice, just raise your hand and I'll see you and I'll call upon you. But this one is the final one in the chat box from Angela. When you are looking at the context, what are the key things or areas you would consider or reflect on?
Okay, so is that in relation to the previous question?
I would think so.
So I think I would imagine it's okay. Who's involved? What happened? Has anything happened that led us to this point? What have we tried to do about this situation before? And is there anything else we should consider doing? And I'll be giving everybody an opportunity to voice their thoughts so that we collectively come to a solution that will allow us to move forward.
Mercy, you're asking some very powerful coaching questions or coaching type questions. So I want to just follow up on that before I invite Mercy Achola to ask her question. I just want to ask you what the place of coaching is in your view with regard to this subject of embracing failure. Where would you see coaching coming in here?
I would see the coach as somebody who's my guide as I go up the mountain. So the coach is there to help me really fully utilize my own potential, unlock my gifts and what I can bring to the table. But equally, the best thing about a coach, a good coach, is that they ask you the difficult questions. And would you believe you usually have paid them to ask you those questions that you might not really want to hear? So the thing is, your coach is a good place to be able to go back. Coaching is a good place to be able to go back to and probably start by saying, oh, I'm terrible, I'll never get through. And then the coach should be able to help you say, okay, pause, what's making you feel like that? And how can you start to reframe that in your own mind so that you put the changes you need to put into action?
Excellent, excellent. I think you should be my coach in the next few months, Mercy. So let me invite Mercy Achola and then Jackie. Mercy.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much, Martin and the leadership group. It's always exciting to join your conversations when you have them.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. My namesake, Mercy, I have witnessed her journey from afar, so really proud of you and what you're doing. Martin, you just took the words out of my mouth because I was going to make a comment about coaching. And I'm happy to hear you will be looking at Mercy to coach you, because we say a coach without a coach is a cockroach. We all need a coach. We all need a coach in our life. I just wanted to make a few comments from what I've had Mercy say and things I've also witnessed and practiced. One, for me, I say FAIL is an acronym which I call First Attempt in Learning. And if we can all embrace failure as a step of learning in the context of knowing what not to do, is a perfect way of making us stop fearing failure. Does it ever go away completely? No, it doesn't. But the more you practice, it's like using a muscle, the better you will become in embracing failure. Then there was also a comment about stating truth and being seen as judgmental. This comes to the context of perspective and understanding self. Mercy talked about self-awareness. When you know yourself, you will be able to understand how you differ from the other people around you, because we are all different. And usually the conflicts or the context, it's not that either side is right or wrong. It's just a question of presentation. And more often than not, it's not about the what, but the how the delivery was done. So yes, the truth can be questioned, as Mercy said, but you want to also ask, how have you delivered this? Because if you can handle the delivery in a manner that somebody else will also begin to see it from your perspective, then you have achieved and connected with them in the communication. Thank you, Martin. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Mercy, for that. That acronym has gained currency. First attempt in learning. Right. Jackie?
Thank you very much, Martin, and karibu sana, Mercy, to this country of ours where our temperatures are like 30% of yours right now. So Mercy, my question relates to what you said earlier about surrounding yourself with, certain kinds of people in order to improve your self-awareness. The question is, where do you draw these people from? And how do you get them to be a part of your circle?
Thank you, Jackie. That's a good question. And I can share my own experience. I have drawn my own circle sometimes from people who are part of my circle by birth. So that's just nature gifting me those people. I also have kept in touch with certain people from my childhood, really, from my days in school. And I always feel that that group is so central because they knew me at the very beginning and they have watched me through the seasons. And so I really value their feedback. And on a professional level, I'm part of different networks. So as a Florence Nightingale Leadership Scholar, I have access to my fellow scholars, and technology is such a gift. So we have a WhatsApp group, and it's a safe space that I can dip in and out of. And every year I try to invest in myself by going on at least one leadership program. And in that way, I create different communities, and all these people are available to me. And I would like to think I'm equally available to them. The question is that the main thing is to cherry pick what you're going to. You have to decide what is driving you. What do you want out of that particular leadership program? What phase in your journey are you at? And how will this program make a contribution? And then, as I said before, you need to make sure that you're also available for these people when and as they need you. So in effect, some of those people already exist. We just need to tap into them. But others, we are going to have to go out and do the work to reach out to them. And then perhaps very, very importantly, is to continuously sustain that relationship. Don't just look for people when you need them. Touch base, let them know how you're doing, and equally be available to them when and as they might need support from you.
Thanks, Mercy. I cannot resist saying this, Mercy, but that is one sister posing a question to another sister. I just had to say that. Thanks, Jackie, and thanks, Mercy. Right, we're coming close to the end of this conversation today. I'm not seeing any other hands up. Anybody, any final taker before I ask Mercy to make her final closing comments, and then we shall wind up the session. Going one, going two, going, gone. Right. So thank you all very much. Mercy, over to you. Any final thoughts, final comments as we wind up?
Martin, I mainly would like to thank everybody for their time this morning. And I must specifically thank those people who are part of my cheering squad and support group who made the time to log onto this call. I very much appreciate what you continue to do to allow me to thrive in my spaces. I will also just let the group know what it means to be a Queen's nurse, if I may, because
yes, please.
In about 20 years of nursing, it's the single thing I have done for myself that I'm most proud of. So the title of Queen's Nurse is available to individual nurses who have demonstrated a high level of commitment to patient care and nursing practice. You do not get the title for life, and every year you need to continuously submit evidence that shows that you are maintaining the standards that are expected of you. So keep warm, keep well. The winter will pass. It always does. And whatever you do, never ever be afraid of failing. It is only just a bus stop on the route to success. Asanteni sana.
Let's give Mercy a really big round of applause as we thank her. So let's give her all the popcorns and the claps and everything else that we can find on the technology platform. Mercy, let me say how delighted we are at the leadership group to host you here today and for you to share this with us. When I first saw the topic failure, I thought that was a really negative subject to be talking about, as you can imagine. But listening to you today and your last words, which is, failure is a bus stop on your way to success. I think that really captures it all and brings it really home. And we are all very encouraged. And again, certainly listening to some of the examples that you've given of your own personal story on this journey and bus stops. So congratulations on the Queen's Nurse, on the Deputy Chief Nurse. Looking forward to hosting you next time when you are now chief nurse, the first Kenyan in the UK. That will be great, and we are all rooting for you now.
Thank you.
And for all those who have joined this discussion today, again, thank you very much for coming in to join us at the leadership group. We have posted on the chat box. Kelly has posted, and feel free to download some of our programs from there. I look forward to seeing you on future occasions. And if you want to get in touch with us on our areas of leadership, coaching, board governance, strategy, do feel free to do the same. Asanteni sana, have a good day, and dress warmly, and except for Mercy, who is experiencing heat wave in the UK. But for the rest of us, all the best and have a great day, and see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks,
all right, and
bye.
thanks, Kelly, and the rest of our team at the leadership group as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.